Shabbat Shalom. It's still Shabbat. Sunset is technically two minutes away. I've been keeping Shabbat, trying to at least, to the best of my ability, an hour before the the sunset that Google tells me, and an hour after the time Google tells me, because I know that's a tradition that people do, but I think it's also very good to respect the Shabbat in that way. So we're going to continue reading this newsletter it was just released last night. And we're at proof number 27, tombstone number 6, which is 416 CE, after death, right? Nave number 20. And it says on there, may rest the soul of Yaakov, the son of Shamo, who died on the second day, the 10th day of the month, Shabbat. It was a Shabbat, wow. In the third year of the sabbatical cycle, the years 346 years after the destruction of the temple, may he wake up to the voice of the announcer of peace. 346 plus 70 equals 416. Okay, and there's a list there. This man died on the 10th day of Shabbat, the 11th month, which was a Monday, the second day of the week in the year 416 CE. This again matches exactly what the Torah calendar is showing us. And there's a website, torahcalendar.com/calendar.asp. You can look that up there. When we go back to check the first month of this year, Passover is found to be after the equinox. Okay, right. So that's the trend that we're seeing. So I went to Shabbat service and I was dressed like this. Normally I'd go in a suit and a tie, the way that modern fashion goes. But I thought, you know what, this is, from what I understand and what Yah led me to believe or to understand and to see, is that the ancient Israelites very much wore fashion that was like what I'm dressed like today, except I was wearing a headband. So yeah, I did, and they didn't kick me out or anything. But anyway, that's besides the point. So this man died on the 10th day of Shabbat, the 11th month. Once again, this year of 416, they are still going by the crescent moon calendar, and the barley being Aviv. That's proof based on the tombstone. And then proof number 29, tombstone 8, 432 CE, no Nave number. This is the grave of Irish, daughter of Marsa, the fellow who died on Thursday, the 17th day of the month Elul, in the 4th year of the sabbatical cycle, the year 362 after the destruction of the temple. May there come peace, and may it rest on her resting place. Peace, peace, or shalom, shalom. 362 plus 70 is 432. So you know what? I'm gonna scan through these. I don't think it's necessary to read all the details. I'm gonna scan through them from this point on. Thursday is the 17th day of the 6th month in the year 432. Okay, so when we look at the 17th day of the 6th month in the year 432, it does not come up on a Thursday, but on a Tuesday. What is going on? The Torah calendar does not go by the barley, but it goes by the Metonic cycles. Oh, the only way you can get the 17th of the 6th month to be on a Thursday is for there to be an Adar Beit for the preceding year, making the 6th month what Torah calendar is saying the 7th month. Okay, so that's the only way you can reconcile that day of a Thursday being the 17th of the 6th month. It's only if you insert a additional month, a 13th month. This tombstone proves that these Jewish people in Zohar at this time, in the year 432 CE, were still going by the barley. They were still going by the barley being a ripe, being Aviv, and they added a 13th month and Adar Beit to the preceding year. When they did that, then what the Torah calendar calls the seventh month is in fact the sixth month, and it matches the date on the tombstone exactly. Do you remember the Torah calendar is going by the Metonic cycles and the equinox? So these people are going by the barley and the crescent moon. So that's why there's a difference there. This is exactly what I'm looking for, only going the other way, so that Passover would then fall before the equinox. So that's what we're looking for. Proof number 31, tombstone number 10, 439 CE. This is the tombstone of Hannah, daughter of Haniel the priest, who died on the Shabbat, the first festival of Passover. On the 15th day of the month of Nisan, in the 5th year of the sabbatical cycle, which is the year 369 years after the destruction of the temple. Peace, shalom, may her soul rest, shalom. Okay, I want to just add in here, it's significant to notice that on these graves, these tombs, these ancient tombs, they note what year they are in the sabbatical cycle. Why are they doing that if it's not important? Secondly, they're marking in time how many years away they were from the destruction of the temple, which is also significant. It tells you what exact date it was. That's how they measured time, not by 2020 or anything like that, based on Julian or Gregorian, a pope. They measure time based on how many years has it been since the destruction of the temple. Because if you do that, all you have to do is subtract 70 years to get to the time when Yeshua was alive, and then from then you can, determine how many years since Adam. So it's a marker in time. It's very, very important. Okay, when you look at the first month in the year 439, you see that the Passover, the 15th day, is on a Sunday and not the Sabbath, as the tombstone has said. Oh, you've got a problem again. When you check the visibility of the moon to start this month, you see if it could have been seen the day before, which would then move the 15th back to the Sabbath and match what the tombstone says. Here's the day it could be seen. And here's the day before when it could not be seen. So when you look at what Torah calendar, that website, is saying, the 13th month of the preceding year, you see that it was a 30-day month because the moon could not be sighted. But I also see that if the moon was not sighted, the month before and 30-day month declared, then this month would put the 15th day on the Sabbath. Okay, wait, let's rewind. If the moon was not sighted, okay. If the moon was not sighted, then a 30-day month would be declared, which would then put the 15th on the Sabbath and match exactly what the tombstone said. So that's the only way, if the moon was not sighted on the previous month. Okay. This is huge. The year 438 is Adar Beit, according to the Torah calendar. But if the month Adar Beit was the first month, and the moon was not seen on the first day, then Shabbat would be the 15th day. What does that mean? It means Passover would be before the equinox. Really? This tombstone proves a few things that you need to make note of. It is very important. It is a very important tombstone to note. This tombstone is the one, number 31, tombstone number 10, 439 CE, the one of Hannah, the daughter of Haniel, the priest. So let's read this. Passover is on the 15th at the end of the 14th. Okay, that makes sense. It's what Leviticus 23 says. The 15th is when Passover is, and it is the first high holy day. Let's look at my Septuagint to see what it says. I don't want to just take the word for it. Okay, let's look. Leviticus 23. When is Passover? It's one of those memory verses. You really should memorize it, but if I'm not mistaken, what does it read here? 23. Passover. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, between the evening times, is the Lord's Passover, is Yah's Passover. On the 15th of this month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay, so the Passover is on the 14th day. But here it's saying Passover is on the 15th, but at the end of the 14th. So it's still technically the 14th, but it's the end, the latter half, where the sun is setting, or if it's between the evenings. That one has been a constant argument and topic of debate for centuries. The 15th is when Passover is, and it is the first High Holy Day. But it says here, the 15th of the month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They're two separate days. Okay, I'm going to go by what the Septuagint says, not by, but what. I'm not going to go by what the newsletter says. Let's go by the Septuagint, because it says here, and I read verse 5. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, okay, the 14th day of the month, so that's sunset of the 13th to sunset of the 14th. Well, the day starts in the sunset, so between the evening times. Okay, between the evening. So you have the evening of the 15th, and then you have the day of 14, and you have the evening of the 14th, because the day starts with the evening, and then the second half of the day is daytime, evening and morning. So Passover is technically 14th. It's not the 15th, because it says right here in verse 6, and on the 15th day of this month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread to Yahweh, to Yah. So I'm not going to go with that. This article is saying, when you check the calendars, the only way you can have a Passover on a Saturday in that year is if you go by the crescent moon to begin the month. The only way you can have a Passover on a Saturday, if you go by a crescent moon to begin the month, not the conjunction. Okay, agreed. The only way you can have a Passover on a Saturday and go by the crescent moon is if you do not have an Adar Beit. The Hebrew calendar with the Metonic cycles makes you at a 13th month. But the biblical calendar that goes by the barley to start the year and then by the crescent moon to begin each month does not use the Metonic cycles, and therefore what Torah calendar is calling the 13th month can, in fact, be the first month, and its tombstone proves it. Okay. Trying to process this. It does not use the Metonic cycles. Yeah. Okay, right. So 13th month can be the first month. Okay, you know what? I'm going to rewind. We're at 0.4. Let me just rewind a bit. Oh, what happened there? Oh, no. What did I just do? Lost my spot. Okay, basically what I wanted to say about this. What I wanted to say about this is let's look at the tombstone, because there's something important there. We don't want to overlook it. Look at this. The first festival of Passover on the 15th day of the month of Nisan. So this tombstone is saying Passover is on the 15th day of the month. Okay. The only way I can reconcile these two things is when Jews say Happy Passover, they don't mean just Passover. They mean the whole season. They mean Feast of Unleavened Bread. They don't call that Feast of Unleavened Bread. They call it Passover. It's one big celebration. So when people say, Chag Sameach, they don't just mean, or Chag Sameach Pesach, or Chag Pesach Sameach. They don't mean just that 14th. They mean the whole thing. So that's the only way I can reconcile this. Meaning, yeah, it was the 15th day and it was Pesach. But when I say Pesach, I mean the whole feast, the whole thing from the 14th, the 15th, and then the 21st. That's what they mean. And the days between those. That's the only way I can reconcile that. Because, yeah, it is a Pesach is a feast, it is a Moedim, but then, and look at when this person was born after Yeshua, and they died after that. So the Judaism during that time of Yehoshua is a lot different than the time than the Jews in the year 439. The way that their traditions, you can already see telltale signs, even in Yehoshua's day, that they were teaching the doctrines of men as if they were the Torah of Yah. So we can't take this tombstone for what it's worth and put this tombstone from 439 after Yehoshua above the word of Yah, which is 400 years before Yehoshua. That would be folly. That would be very foolish. So I'm not going to do that. So I disagree with this tombstone that it was Pesach, but I agree that it was the Pesach season. I think that's what they meant. It's Passover season. Just like when you say Sukkot, you don't just mean the 7th month and the 15th of the month. You also mean the days in between the 15th to the 21st, even the 22nd, which is the 8th day. They include that as Sukkot. They don't say, I mean, at least that's what I believe, or my opinion might be wrong. But, comment about that if you like. I know they are separate feast days. They're not the same. The 8th day is called Shemini Atzeret, completely separate. But when it comes to greeting people, you don't say, Chag Shemini Atzeret Sameach. You just say Chag Sukkot Sameach. That's what you say. It's a general blanket term. Okay, so that's my rant. All right, point 4. This tombstone shows you that the Jewish people in Zohar at this time were still going by the barley to determine the years and the crescent moon to begin the month. That's very good. And that's a good thing they continued that. Number 5, this tombstone shows you that they were not going by the equinox and that Passover this year is before the equinox. How do we know that for sure, though? How do we know? Can someone comment like later on? Or I don't understand how it's before the equinox. How is that possible? Does it say here when the equinox is? Because this is... How do we know for sure? How do we know for sure? I mean, the equinox, isn't that necessary for the barley to be ripe? How does... Okay, well, anyway, I guess we're going to see. Proof 33, Tombstone 12, 455 CE. We now come to a very important junction. Hillel 2. Here we go. Hillel the Nasi, also known simply as Hillel, was an Amora of the 5th generation in the land of Israel. He held the office of Nasi of the Sanhedrin between 320 and 385 CE. He was the son and successor of Judah the third. He is sometimes confused with Hillel the Elder. Yeah, that is confusing, as the Talmud sometimes simply uses the name Hillel. He is traditionally regarded as the creator of the modern fixed Jewish calendar. This tradition first appears in a responsum of Ar Hai Gaon, cited by R. Abraham Bar Hiyah. In the Sefer Hai Ibur. The citation explicitly refers to the year that this event happened, 670 of the Seleucid era, which corresponds to 358 or 359 CE. Okay, so listen to this, listen closely. However, a number of documents have been found that indicate the calendar was not fully fixed in Hillel's time. Most famously, a letter found in Cairo, Geniza, from the year 835 or 836. I don't know if it's CE or not, just 835, 836. I'm going to say CE. Indicates that the holidays were observed on different dates. from those predicted by the current calendar. Okay, maybe that's BC. The calendar did not reach its exact modern form until at least the years through 922 to 924 CE. Okay, so that it was CE 835. According to modern scholar Sacha Stern, Hai Gaon only attributed the establishment of a 19-year cycle and not other details of the calendar to Hillel. The fixed calendar was of great benefit to Jews of his and subsequent generations. The Jewish calendar is lunisolar, that is, its months are synchronized with the phases of the moon, but its average year length approximates the mean length of a solar year. The Sanhedrin declared new months based on observations of the new moon, and they added a 13th lunar month to certain years to ensure the holidays would continue to fall in the same seasons of the solar year. But Constantius II, following the precedents of Hadrian, prohibited the holding of such meetings, as well as the vending of articles for distinctly Jewish purposes. The worldwide Jewish community depended on the calendar that was sanctioned by the Judean Sanhedrin in order to observe the Jewish holidays on their dates. However, danger threatened the participants in that sanction. Congregations, Huna ben Abin once advised Rava not to wait. Do not wait for the official intercalculation. Okay. Wow, that's devious. When you are convinced that the winter quarter will extend beyond the 16th day of Nisan, declare the year a leap year. Do not hesitate. But as the religious persecutions continued, Hillel decided to provide an authorized calendar for all time to come. Oh, hold on a sec. Huna ben Abin advised Rava, don't wait for the official intercalation. Okay, so they were going by what they saw, what they observed. So that wasn't bad. Sorry, I take that back. But Hillel decided to provide an authorized calendar for all time to come, though by doing so he severed the ties which united the Jews of the diaspora to their mother country and to the patriarchate. Okay, I think I read that before. I'm just gonna get a sip of water before I get dry mouth. So we are about to see the first time that I have discovered of the calculated calendar being used next. This is the first time the calculated calendar was used. Okay, here we go. May rest the soul of Rabbi Simon Binabi, who died the fourth day, Wednesday, the third day of the month Adar, in the seventh year, 385 years after the destruction of the temple. May he rest a sage in peace. May he wake up to the voice of the announcer of peace, Shalom. So that's year 455 CE. The rabbi died on Wednesday, the third of the 12th month in 455 CE. We have here now the first proof I have that the conjunction moon is now being used. Really? Oh. The conjunction took place Monday, making it the first day, and thereby Wednesday is now the third day when you start to count from the conjunction moon. This explanation now matches what the tombstone has said. It shows us that Passover that year was on the day of the equinox. Okay, this is 455 CE. The ones before that were from, the one before that was 439. So it's just, so between 439 to 455, something changed. They stopped using the sighted moon. They stopped observing the moon. Or this, at least this person did. Proof 34, tombstone number 13, 456 CE. This is the tombstone of the son of Megalos, who died on the Shabbat, 25th day of the month of Tevet. This is 10th year, or 10th month, I believe, in the first year of the sabbatical cycle, 386 years after the destruction of the temple. The day of conjunction is Thursday, December 13, so this month does not match our day for Shabbat being the 25th of the 10th month, based on the Torah. What was that? The one calendar, TorahCalendar.com. Because we have now pushed the calendar back 1 month according to Torah calendar, changing the 13th month of the previous year and making it the first month, this would make Passover March 9 if using the conjunction, and March 10 if using the crescent moon. Well, it's only a day difference. But now we have no way of knowing if they are using the barley to begin the year because they are now using the calculated calendar. This is over 1 week before the equinox. Wow. So it can happen based on what he's saying. But how do you know when the equinox is? So I guess my question is, if someone could answer this or make a comment in the future, how do you know when the equinox takes place? Like, how do you mark that in time? Like, is the equinox always a fixed date? And let me just look it up. When is the equinox? Let's look at that. It is the time when the plane of Earth's equator passes through the center of the sun. Usually March 20 and September 23. So it's usually in March. Oh, that's how you know. March and September, it's just automatically that time. Is that right? It's all okay. So is the Gregorian calendar based on the equinox? I don't understand. Oh yeah, so this is before March 20. So it's definitely before the equinox. Wow. That's quite interesting. So it can happen early. Proof 36, Tombstone 15, 468 CE. May the spirit of Esther, daughter of Baba, who died of the 6th day, Friday, on the 3rd day of the month Kislev, 9th month, in the 6th year of the Shemitah, which was a leap year, 398, to the destruction of the temple, so 468. Excuse me. So again, there's a difference here. There's a discrepancy with those who use the sighted moon calendar to the conjunction, because they stopped doing that practice after between 440 to 455 is when the majority of Jews stopped doing that. Possibly even was completely abolished by the Sanhedrin or whoever was in power. Excuse me. Once they stopped using the barley as a reference to begin the year, they began to keep Passover in February, on the 26th day. Wow. That's our early Passover. Proof 37, Tombstone 16. The memorial of the deceased Mati, son of Sabah, who died on the 5th day, 20th of the month of Elul, on the 5th year of the Shemitah, year 398, to the destruction of the temple. May he rest in peace. 468 CE. So I just want to add here that these names for the months, they're not biblical names. Yah never gave these names months. Never gave these months names. He only named them after numbers. The first month, this will be the second month, this third month. Even in Leviticus 23, it says right here, look, let's just go to verse 23. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month. So he never says, on this month of the name of the month. No, it was just, he doesn't say that. There are no, he doesn't call it Tishri. On this day of Tishri. No, he just says on the 7th month. Because these names, if you really do your research, all these names are Babylonian. Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz. Tammuz is a pagan deity. Av, Elul, Tishrei, Heshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shavat. And then the only ones that are not is like Aleph, which is the first letter and first number. Bait is second. Those are the only ones that are not. So the other ones, as far as I know, if you could comment and say, are all these months numbers or names? Which ones are numbers? So all I know is Aleph and Bait. None of these correspond to the alphabet. There are no letters that are called ER. There's no letter called Shivan or Sivan, no Tammuz, no Av. Is there a letter Av? I don't think so. Elul, I don't believe is a letter. I might be wrong. Tishrei is not. I know that. Heshvan is not. Kislev is not. Tevet is not a letter. Shavat is not. Aleph is and Beit is. Adar isn't a letter. That's just so Adar is also a Babylonian name. The conjunction is on August 5th, which makes the 20th move back by one day. It does not land on the Thursday as the tombstone says. Okay, I'm just going to scan through this. This is getting a little tedious. Proof 38, Tombstone 17, 470 CE, Nave 24. May the soul of Yoseh, son of Ophi, who died in the city of Tefar, in the land of Hamar, and left to the land of Israel, and buried on the sixth day, the 26th of the month of Tammuz. What is Tammuz? The fourth month. Of the fourth month, on the first year of the Shemitah, which is identical to the year 400, to the destruction of the temple, so 470. So what do we need to know about this? Okay, so there's just, you can see that tombstone after tombstone, those after 440 CE are not doing the sighted moon anymore. They're doing the conjunction. They're doing it based on Hillel too. Proof 39, Tombstone 18. The tombstone of Hannah, daughter of Levi, who died on Thursday, the 19th day of the month of Sivan, or the third month, the third year of the sabbatical year, 402 years after the destruction of the temple. Peace be upon Israel, peace. Okay. Using crescent moon has not helped me to find the 19th. If I use the conjunction, then the only month that has Thursday is what Torah to calendar is calling month 1. So there's a discrepancy there, about maybe even 2 months there. This makes the 12th month of the year the first month, and Passover would then be February 11. Oh, so Passover is in February based on the sighted moon? I don't know anymore. Okay, I'm so confused now. Okay. Proof 40, Tombstone 19, 476 CE. This is the memorial of Yaakov, son of Awid, who died on the second day, on the 10th day of Marcheshvan, 8th month, on the first year of the Shemitah. 406 to the destruction of the temple. Okay. Okay, I want to make a note that all these tombstones, they are after Yahushua's death. There's no mention of the Mashiach. So I don't know if they are believers like in the way and Haderech, if they are Messianic Jews, or if they are simply most likely Jews of the like tradition of the Talmud. The only way to get the 10th of the 8th month is to be a Monday is to go to the preceding month. Okay. So Passover in 576 CE was February 27th, and it was way before the equinox, because that's the end of March. Proof 43, Tombstone 22, 505 CE, and it was getting tedious. May rest the soul of Haifu, daughter of, doesn't say, who died on Tuesday, 11th of, okay, I won't read it all, but basically this one, they're so off now. They're off by like at least a month. So the Passover in 505 CE is on March 8th, which is before the equinox. Proof 44. I'm not going to read it. just read the name, Hasadiah, the priest and son of Dematin. Okay, so what happened in this one? Conjunction this year was on July 26th, which makes Thursday the 5th of the 5th month. Passover this year was on April 15th. It was after the equinox. Okay. So what is the conclusion? Conclusions. Based upon our findings using all the tombstones at our disposal, we have concluded that the ancient community of Jews in the town of Zoar, so these tombstones are in Zoar, just FYI, they did not ever use the equinox to determine when Passover would fall. They did not. They used the crescent moon and the barley to begin the year. And then about 455 CE, which is the first record I have, they then began to use the conjunction moon, also today known as the Hillel calendar, to govern the holy days and months. So for about 400 years after Yoshua, and even before then. So, okay, let's calculate this. Hold on a sec. 455 minus 2020, okay? How do we do this? Okay, 455 minus, so 1565. Okay, so I'll subtract that by the year we're in. What year are we in again? Oh, I'm so lost. I'm just trying to basically say, how long have the Jews been keeping the right calendar? That's what I'm trying to determine. 5855, okay. Okay, let's do the math again. 2020 minus 455, right? That's when they started doing the other. So for 1565, and we're in year 5855, so minus 5855. So for 4,290 years, the Jews were keeping the correct calendar based on the sighted moon. And then after that, so for 4 days, 4 millennial days, they've been keeping it. The years after that, the centuries after, they would be keeping the conjunction moon based on Hillel 2's calculations for a good 1,600 years, almost 1,600, so 1,500 and a bit. It's a long time. So, and we know Yah is specific. Like, I'm not trying to condemn people, but Yah is a very specific Elohim. When he says, for example, he says, carry the Ark of the Covenant on staves. Don't, it has to be carried on staves. And when they broke that and carried it on a cart, and then the Ark was falling, and then Uzzah, I think his name was Uzzah, he put his hand to stop it. He touched it and he died instantly. These are specific regulations that have to be followed. So if we are not keeping the Moedim or even the Shabbat on the correct dates, are we going to be cursed for it? That's the question. Will we be cursed for that? And inversely, you could say, will we be blessed if we kept them on the correct dates? Because what I'm having a struggle trying to reconcile is, if somebody doesn't know any better, would Yah judge them for it? But if you do know better, to whom much is given, much is expected, and you'll be responsible for what you know. But if your teachers intentionally change what they know should not be changed, like the calendar, for instance, where it needed to be cited by 2 witnesses in Jerusalem, the new moon, the crescent moon, and then you change that to just calculations and and postponements and things are not in the Torah, what will happen? Is there not going to be a consequence for that? The sign is no longer the right sign anymore because it's a sign between you and him that you're keeping the Shabbat, you're keeping the Moedim on the correct dates. I find it so revealing that in these times, the year 5855, Yah is opening the eyes of just people like me who are not, at least to my understanding, I'm not ethnically an Israelite. Someone called me today a Hebrew. And I guess, you know what, they're not exactly wrong because from what I understand, uh, the people of the Philippines, which is my bloodline, they trace their origins to Ophir, and and Ophir is one of the, I believe, coming from Yoktan, Joktan, and that's one of the sons of Eber, or the Hebrews. So yeah, I guess technically I could be a Hebrew if we're going by that understanding. But I mean, besides the point, I could be of the tribe of Levi. It doesn't really matter. It matters what I do. Do I obey him or not? Because I could be from any race, doesn't matter. But if I'm obedient, that's what matters. But if I'm a Levite and I live the way I want to and just disregard the Torah, how would Yah see me? Would he see me as someone who loves him or someone who's a stranger to him? Anyway, I'm off track now. Where am I? Today known as the Hillel calendar. Okay. Out of 13 tombstones. Okay, so 455 CE is when they began to use the conjunction moon known today as the Hillel calendar to govern the holy days and the months. Out of 13 tombstones with the day of the death and the date, we have checked each one to see if they kept the Passover before the equinox. We have checked each one to see if they kept the Passover. See how that looks. Look like a tennis player now. All right. 13 tombstones. We have checked each one to see if they kept the Passover before the equinox. We had one using the barley and the crescent moon to begin the month, and they were before the equinox. We had three that were after the equinox. We had six using the conjunction moon to begin the month, and they were before the equinox. We also had three that were after the equinox. So is it possible to have Passover before the equinox? Yes. It is possible to have Passover before the equinox, as we've seen these tombstones. Ancient history written upon the tombstones of Zohar proves this to be the case. It is entirely possible for Passover to come this year, 2020, our year now, or 5855, on March 11th, with the 14th, and preparation day being March 10. This would then make the last day of unleavened bread March 17, but we must wait upon Jehovah to bring the warm winds, to create the heads and the barley to know for sure. So that's a concrete, visible sign, visible sign. It's a concrete piece of evidence. It's concrete proof that it will be a first month, will be will be a new year, the Aviv barley, the barley being ripe, not the equinox or anything that's not in the Torah. What we have done with this technical study is to demonstrate that the equinox is irrelevant as to when Passover will be. The end. Okay, comments. Okay, so I'm just going through the comments. There's not much here. Charles Lawson needed to read all of Titus. Okay, what is it? What do they mean? Titus, verse 10 and 11 of chapter 2. Okay, I need to read that just to see what they're talking about. What do they mean, read Titus? What's in Titus? Or Titus? Verse 10 and 11. It says here, teach them not to contradict or to pilfer, but to show such praiseworthy fidelity in everything, as to recommend the teaching about Elohim, our Savior, by all that they do. For the loving kindness of Elohim has been revealed, bringing salvation for all, leading us to renounce irreligious ways and worldly ambitions. Okay, to live discreet, upright, and religious lives here in this present world, it's keeping on going. While we are awaiting our blessed hope, the appearing and glory of our great Elohim and Savior, Mashiach Yahushua. Whoa, okay, I don't see how that relates to Charles Lawson. Oh, that's the guy who insulted Joe. Looking for a new moon for the equinox. Okay, it's important. There's a comment here saying in the previous newsletter, it says here, there's a reference to a letter which was written around 40 CE, only 40 years after Yeshua was born. Sorry. So it was only maybe like 7 years after he died. A generation before Josephus, telling us about the sun being in Aries, and it reflects an earlier Pharisee observance before the equinox or constellations were used. It once happened that Rabban Gamaliel was sitting on a step on the Temple Mount. I wonder if it's the same Gamaliel that Paul mentioned, Shaul mentioned. The well-known scribe Yohanan was standing before him with 3 cut sheets of parchment lying before him. He said to him, take the 3rd sheet and write to our brethren, the exiles of Babylon, and to those in Media, Persia, and to all the other exiled sons of Israel, saying, may your peace, may your shalom be great forever. We beg to inform that the doves are still tender, and the lambs are still young, and the Aviv is not yet ripe. Okay, so there are 3 signs, doves, lambs, and Aviv. It seems advisable to me, at least that's what they were observing. It seems advisable to me and to my colleagues to add 30 days to this year, Babylonian Talmud, Sanhedrin 11b. Wow. So the Aviv is not ripe. Let's add 30 days. But they weren't using a calculated calendar at that time. It's just further proof. Okay, that's the end of this video and the end of the newsletter too, so that's good. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat is, technically it is sunset, but if you are of the persuasion that you should keep Shabbat an hour before sunset and an hour after, which is what I've started doing actually, I think right before I started doing these videos, funnily enough. Yeah, it was right around that same time. I don't believe that's a coincidence. Wow. Because you're saying to our Father, I want to invite you into my house early, and I don't want you to leave. Stay for another hour. I think that's what I'm saying. It's not that, I want to be righteous and everyone else is not doing it, you're wicked. It's not about that. It's about what is your relationship with our Father. For example, on Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, you're supposed to fast, right, for 24 hours. So what I would do, when I first started keeping it, I would fast to the minute. Like, okay, sunset is 4:30. So I would drink and eat as much as possible. And then once 4:30 hit, boom, done, nothing. And then, when I would break my fast the following day, I wait for 4:30 and then eat, like just eat up, right? Like stuff your face. But actually, early on, maybe a few years into this the way, I I remember prolonging my fast and seeing, okay, you know what? There's something about this day is so special and so set apart. I feel like although the other ones are set apart, this one feels even more set apart. I feel closer to Yah because I'm not depending on my physical body to sustain me. I'm depending on Him to sustain me, not food. I'm depending on my relationship with Him and my constant contact with Him by prayer, by reading His words, by living His words. And so what I did is I would start my fast a little bit earlier, maybe 4:30 sunset. So I start like at 4:20, not too much earlier, right? But then what I would do when the sunset would arrive, 4:30, I would go to like 5, maybe even 5:30. So I prolonged the fast, and you know what I found is that my prayers were not the same. My perspective was not the same. My prayers were more not for myself; they were for other people. They were real, like not just words saying, "Thank you, Father." That it was really like more passionate, more intense, more from the heart. And I want to go just touch on the heart for just 1 minute. And also, just everything was more spiritual. I was more spiritually minded and spiritually aware, and very zealous too. So let me just go to Jeremiah, just touch on something. If you would turn there, Jeremiah 17, verse 9. Now, in the King James, I'm going to do a video on this, but I'm just going to touch on it. I won't go too deep into it. I'm just going to read it. Jeremiah 17 and verse 9, we read in the Masoretic, or the King James. Verse 9 reads, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Septuagint. What does Septuagint say? Which is dated 400 years before Yehoshua. It says here, Amen. I'm going to say that, Amen, because this is the truth. "The heart is deep beyond all things, and it is the man or woman. And who can know him?" And then the next verse says, it makes more sense now. "I, Yah, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give this Masoretic, even to give every man according to his ways, and according to the fruit of his doings." What does the Septuagint say? "I, Yah, try the hearts and prove the reins, to give everyone according to his ways, and according to the fruit of his devices." So there's no difference there. It's the verse 9, which tells us the heart is deep beyond all things, and it is the man, or it is Adam, who can know him. Who can know him is the heart. Who can know the heart? And when it says the man, it's not again to politics or political correctness. Man is Adam. And when God created man and woman, he called both of them Adam. It's just saying like dogs. So if you see a dog, you don't say, "Oh, female dog, male dog." You just say dog. These are dogs. And this is Adam. Man, woman, you're both Adam. But one is a male Adam, one is a female Adam. So that's what he means. That the heart is deep beyond all things, and it is Adam. It is the man. Who can know him? It is mankind. It is the individual. We are our hearts, and it is deep beyond all things. Who can know the heart? Yah knows our hearts. He tests our hearts to prove the reins, to give to everyone according to his ways, and according to the fruits of his devices. So I'm not going to get deep into that, but that's going to be definitely a video. There's a lot of teachings that Christianity, mainstream Christianity, use to push an agenda that the Word of God doesn't actually even say, does not support. But they use the corrupted version of the Word. I hate to say it, but it's a corrupted version of the Word because they've taken things out, they've added things in, and we know what it says in Revelation to those who do such things. What will happen to them? I declare, Revelation 22, verse 18, I declare to all who hear the words of the prophecy contained in this book. I think it's talking about Revelation, the book of Revelation, but you can extend it to the Torah too. If anyone adds to it, Elohim will add to his troubles the curses described in this book. If anyone takes away any of the words in the book containing this prophecy, Elohim will take away his share in the tree of life and in the holy city as described in this book. I wonder if there's another reference to that anywhere else. Deuteronomy 4. Okay, let's look at that just really quick and then we'll close the stream. Deuteronomy 4. Just going to see if there's any comments there. No, okay. Sometimes someone will make a comment and, I just don't want to leave them hanging. So unless it's a troll, you just ignore the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. Deuteronomy 4, verse 2. Okay. Deuteronomy 4. What does that say? I wonder if it says a similar thing about if someone removes or adds to the word. What does it say? Oh, wow. It says, you shall not add to the word which I command you. You shall not take from it. Okay, so don't take from the Torah. And don't add to it. Don't take away from it. And I think that should extend to the Tanakh too. It's just my opinion. Like, what does it say in 1232? Okay. The next reference is 1232. In terms of people taking away and adding from the word. It says here, verse 32, every word that I command you today, it shall you observe to do. You shall not add. Okay, don't add to the commands or diminish from the commands. And I think that's what Yehoshua did. He didn't diminish from the word. He made it greater. He took the Torah and he made it greater. He magnified it and didn't diminish it. Deuteronomy 29, it's the last reference. Verse 30. Verse 30. It shall come to pass when all these things have come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before your face, you shall call them to mind. Wait, is that the... No. There is no verse 30. Deuteronomy 29:30? Oh, 20. Maybe it's 20. Such a small print. Okay. It says here in verse 20, Elohim shall by no means be willing to pardon him, but then the wrath of Yah and his jealousy shall flame out against that man, and all the curses of this covenant shall attach themselves to him, which are written in this book, the Torah, and Yah shall blot out his name from under heaven. Okay, I don't see how that... How's that a reference to? Oh. Maybe it's 32, 29, and 30. 32, 29. Okay, maybe I got that wrong. 40, 32, Deuteronomy 32, 29, and 30. Oh. 32, 29. They had not sense to understand. 29, 32, 29, and 30. Oh, that doesn't make sense either. So it is 2920. It was 2920. It just doesn't make sense to me why that's a reference. Maybe that's a reference to the Masoretic. Let's look it up in the Masoretic, see what it says there. And we're not using it as, I'm not going to use this as doctrine. I'm just going to see what it says, just out of curiosity. 29, 2920. So Masoretic says, oh, okay, it says the same thing. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. The newsletter is pretty interesting. Basically, we proved by looking at the tombstones in Zohar that the Passover, Pesach, can take place before the equinox, before the end of March. Passover is it's not based on and not determined by the equinox when it is. It's completely independent from it and of it. Passover is dependent on the sighting of the moon to announce the new month, and most importantly, the barley being Aviv. So if there is no more barley, that's a good question. If someone asked, what if there's no barley anymore? Well, there's probably other signs to tell. They talked about lambs and doves, and there are other crops you can look at, not just barley. So, but I think barley is one of the crops that uh, shows the first signs of ripening. It's one of the early harvests. Whereas if you go by wheat or some other uh, agricultural determ agricultural timestamp, if you call it, you won't get the same. It won't be in the same season. So that's why barley is one of the early indicators that it is a new year. So that's the end of the newsletter. I'll do another video, maybe not tonight, not today, but well, we'll see. If not today, then most likely on Monday. I'd like to say Monday. I'll do a video continuing the series for the this book, continuing the series on that book. I don't know if I have enough energy. I'll do another one tonight or tomorrow. Chapter 22, Born on the Feast of Trumpets. That's the next chapter. And that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pages. And we'll only have right towards the end. Chapter 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 chapters left. So 8 more videos. And then after I finish this series, I'm going to do a video series, and I'm going to try to up the production level a little bit. Like, I know it's very raw. It's very, just someone sitting on their bed. And it's not really, I apologize that it's not very maybe professional, but, it's not about seeking the approval of men. It's about seeking the approval of Yah. But I do want to do a video series. I want to do, it's been an hour after Shabbat, after sunset, I mean. So it is officially the end of Shabbat, according to my understanding now and my practice. So my personal practice. I thank you all for watching. Yah bless you all and protect you, and may He make your way prosperous. May He bless you with the things that you need and the understanding that He gives you, and may you be obedient to keep it, and may you have favor with Him and with men. May you increase the zeal in your heart to love Him with all of your strength, all of your mind, all of your soul, all of your nefesh, and to remember his Torah, keep it in your heart and your soul, and to love our neighbor, meaning me, you, everyone that you meet, with not just the love that you have for yourself, but Yehoshua said, I give you a new commandment: love each other as I've loved you. So with the love that he had for us, love each other, which makes magnified that law. Um, yeah, so please look forward to the remaining 8 videos, and then I'll do a series of videos called Differences Between the Septuagint and the Torah, or the Septuagint and the Masoretic. I don't know if that exists yet, but I'm going to do a series, and it's going to be called Differences Between Septuagint and Masoretic, the big differences. And maybe we'll have a theme song, I don't know, and try to make it a little more appealing to just the, not casual, but I mean more organized or structured. I don't know, more like the videos I'm doing for this. So like a series, and I already have a lot of scriptures lined up for that. So what I'm going to do is lay out a plan to how to execute that, how to present that. A big chunk of it will be from Psalms and Proverbs. It's going to be very good, I feel. And also Isaiah is going to be there. There's a lot of differences just in Isaiah. So I don't know if I'm going to cover all 66 chapters of Isaiah, but we will see. I mean, there's a lot of prophecies about Mashiach, and who knows how many were removed from the Masoretic, from the Septuagint when they were translating it to the Masoretic. Who knows? There's probably many that we don't even know about. But I just wish I had, number one, more time. I wish I had a partner to help me to examine this, and we'll read it side by side. Okay, you read this line, I'll read this line. Okay, what does it say? What does yours say? That would take 2 people doing that. Just 2 people, one reading the Septuagint, one reading the Masoretic, and comparing notes. Oh man, if it took a chapter a day, and how many chapters in the Bible are there? You know, let's say realistically, you can't do a book a day, because that's. Let's say realistically, you'll do a chapter a day. Okay, I'm gonna Google how many chapters in the Bible in total. The Bible. There are 1,189. So it would take 1,189 days to do this. How many years is that? That's quite a undertaking. It would take 3.5 years. Wow. What is why does that give me chills in my spine, down my spine? 3.5 years to do that, to present what the actual Word of God says. Oops. What the actual Septuagint says, the one that existed in the time of Yehoshua, and what even the disciples referred to. And they equated the Septuagint with the actual Hebrew scriptures of that time, which I think the closest thing we have to that are the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's the closest thing, because they line up more with what the Septuagint says versus the Masoretic, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And we know for a fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest existing form of the scriptures known to man. If you're looking at the oldest scriptures that we know of, that like a parchment or some kind of artifact, a relic that contains scriptures, it's the Dead Sea Scrolls. There are nothing older than that. No other piece of evidence that exists. So Dead Sea Scrolls. Let's see how old that is. Dead Sea Scrolls are dated 3 centuries before Yoshua. Okay. So when was Septuagint written? It began in the 3rd century. So 3rd century before Christ, before Mashiach. Dead Sea Scrolls and Septuagint, they they were written right around the same time. 325 to 350 CE. So that's the 350. Okay. So 350 CE, whereas the Dead Sea Scrolls date from the time of 408. So Dead Sea Scrolls are older than the Septuagint by about at least 50 years or so. And the Septuagint or the Dead Sea Scrolls line up closer to what the Septuagint says versus the Masoretic, which they don't agree. So what are you going to go by? The newer one or the older one? And I don't think it's just a matter of just saying, okay, it's older, so it's true. I mean, is that the case? Should that always be the case just because it's older? It's the truer one? Because I mean, the spirit will also lead you to. Well, I guess you could use that argument in a way because if you look at the word right now, like a lot of modern translations will they'll create gender neutral Bibles when we know Yah created man, male and female. So why would you do that? Why would you eliminate that distinction? So now when you're reading the text, you're not sure what is a man, what is a woman. It's going to change the whole story flow. It's going to change the details. It's going to change the story altogether. Just making it gender neutral, just because you don't want gender. Okay. So anyway, I'm babbling on, blabbering on. Thank you again. We're at an hour and 12. Okay, so Shavua Tov. May God bless you all. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate the one viewer. I appreciate that; it means a lot. But more than that, it's not for me. It's really it's about seeking the truth of the word, of the Torah, of the Tanakh, of the Berit Hadashah. It's about searching for the truth, and how many people are really searching for the truth, and how important is truth? Isn't truth as valuable as life itself? Maybe even more so. Because Yehoshua said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He's all those three things. He's also our good shepherd. He won't lead us into the way that is bad for us. He'll lead us into the way that is to the truth. He'll lead us in a path that goes to the tree of life, to live forever. So the only ones are good. So when I was led to looking at the Septuagint, and I realized when you understand, yeah, it isn't about how old something is. It's what did Yehoshua have in his day? How did they do it back then? What is the pure word? If there was a problem with it, wouldn't they have said something at that time? If there was something wrong with the calendar they were keeping at that time, wouldn't Yehoshua say, a sighted moon is wrong? Because back then, Hillel II's calendar did not exist, so he had nothing to say about that. But he did have something to say about their traditions. A lot of their traditions, for instance, where he said, you have this practice where if you set aside a tithe for the temple, you tell your parents, oh, this is for the tithe of the temple. So, my duty to you is canceled. I don't have to give you money This is for the temple. It's not for you. It's set aside for the temple. It's a greater cause. But he said that those who do that, they break the fifth commandment because it says, honor your father and mother. And not just, when you look at the word honor, it's not simply respecting them. It's showing dignity, treating them with dignity and respect. So if that person's parents were needing assistance in order to live, like buying their food or something that they really need, like a necessity. It's not, let's just make it clear, it's a necessity, this money that they would need. And then if this son is saying, you don't need it, it's for the temple, they should have honored their father and mother first and helped them, assisted them financially to what they needed. And then they could do the thing for the temple, set aside the tithe. But you can't just completely cancel it out and ignore that commandment that it's not important because it's the fifth of the 10 commandments. Whereas giving to the temple would rank lower in terms of priorities because that's loving God, loving your neighbor, and then maybe he's reasoning, oh, I'm loving God more, but you didn't do your duty to those who you see, or the father, your mother, who you see with your own eyes. So what more can you love a father that you don't even see, right? Anyway, yeah, so I'm just ranting on and on. Okay, I'm going to do a video later on, maybe if not tonight, then another day. But please stay tuned. We're going to cover and finish this book off and then do the series in the Septuagint. Boy, you know what? It would take 3.5 years to do that. That's quite an undertaking. That's not to do a chapter a day. Like I would start with Genesis, essentially, right? I do Genesis, like day one would be Genesis. Genesis chapter 1 would be verses 1 to 31. I'd have to look at it side by side meticulously. That would be day 1, Genesis 1. So I guess I could do that. I mean, that is possible for me to do that. It's just going to take a long time. And I mean, how much time do we have left till Yeshua comes back? Some are saying 25 years. But even before then, there's the Great Tribulation. There's a lot of things that are going to ramp up, and they're ramping up they're ramping up now. How much time before it gets to the point I won't be able to do that anymore? Well, I guess we'll see, right? But that's quite an undertaking to do. I will try to do it. I'll put on my heart and I pray that, and please pray for me too, that Yah would give me the energy and motivation to keep it up. So I could potentially do one chapter a day right when I wake up, make it my first priority, do this video series. And then on Shabbat, I could do maybe 7. I could maybe do 7 chapters. That's ambitious, right? So let's see. How many? 7 times 52 is 364. So 364 minus 1189 is 825 divided by 314 because I'm not including the Shabbat as part of the year. That would take around 2.5 years. So it would take just under 3 years to finish that. So it's quite a undertaking. I might have to make a separate channel. I might do that, to do a separate channel just for that, because I think it's that special. It's really historical. Because I don't think there's a book that exists that I have to look it up. Is there differences between Septuagint? I may have to look that up. Between Septuagint and Masoretic. See if there's such a thing. Oh, notable differences. Okay, there is a website. So I don't know if they. How do I list the differences between the Septuagint? Okay, so for this video series on that, I noticed there may or may not be too many differences, but the major ones I'll cover. But if there's like slight differences, maybe just like a little bit of the wording, it's not a big difference. So I will not cover it. I'll just say, okay, this chapter revealed not didn't reveal major differences, so I will just omit it and just say, they're pretty equal, just slight differences. But anything really doctrinal and important to salvation, then I would do a video on that. How do I find a list of the differences? Okay, I just Googled this and see what it. This can help you find differences. Okay, what is it? Wow, look at this answer someone put. You can find a list of differences between the Samaritan Pentateuch and the Masoretic text because both are in Hebrew. But to enumerate the differences between the Septuagint and the Masoretic is difficult, if not impossible, simply because the Septuagint is in Greek and the Masoretic is in Hebrew. Technically, they cannot differ because one is a translation. If you had a word in an English translation and a word in an Egyptian translation, how could you know if one reflected a different original Greek source? This might be difficult. Okay, so there isn't really a list you can find on the internet. It doesn't exist. I'll look at that channel and see if they have a series on it. If they don't, then I will have to do this. Notable differences. It's 28 minutes long. What are some additions? What are some additions to some books that are in both? What are some major differences between the Septuagint and Masoretic? Are there any known problems with the Septuagint? Well, there's so many. Okay, so there exists nothing like this on the internet right at this moment. So it's going to be pretty cool to do this, to say the least. I'm going to read a top comment here. Okay, you missed one difference. The genealogy between Noah and Abraham when they had children. The Masoretic knocks off 100 years and makes a mess of when people died. The Septuagint, Samaritan Pentateuch, and Josephus all agree against the Masoretic, and they're all pretty much, I'd say, contemporary, maybe. Thank you for your videos. They are well done. Okay, so that's really interesting. So I think for that undertaking, I might have to get a new camera. I don't know if I should use this. Maybe I'll use something more higher quality camera, like a webcam, a better webcam. I mean, I'd like to use this, but I can't because I need 1,000 subscribers. I only have like 50 or less. So I need 1,000 subscribers. I need 950 in order to live stream from this. And then I could do a series that way. But So what I may have to do, okay, you know what, I could use my phone, I'll just pre-record them and then I'll upload them and say, okay, this is Genesis 1. And then in order to present the verse by verse, I'll have to pretty much take a picture. I have to take a picture or just film it as I'm reading and say, this is what it says. This is the King James. And I have a 1611 King James, but no one will be able to read it because of it's written in Gothic writing. So I'll have to use the one in like Rome uh, modern text. So it's a bit easier to read. So I guess that's what I'll have to do. I'll just take them out to show you. Hold on a minute. Okay. So just for the sake of information sake, knowledge sake, this is what is known as the King James version of the Bible from 1611. Now the original is a lot larger, like this big, like maybe like two handbreadths or arm lengths, or what do you call those? Not furlongs, like cubits. And this is what it looks like. You can see that there. So if I were to show that, very few would be able to read that. Very few, because of the Gothic font. Just show you with light. Can you see that? So that's what it looks like in the original font, because each copy was handwritten. They didn't have a printing press back then, so what I'm going to do, I won't show that version just because it's not easy to read. I'm going to show this when I do the video series. I'll do that. Do this. I'll read like that, so it's much easier to read. And then obviously for the Septuagint, I'll display it as such. Not the Greek, but the the English side. I'll do that. And it'll be a lot sharper because I'm using my smartphone, so it'll be a lot easier to read. My webcam is on a laptop that is at least, oh man, how old is this laptop? I don't even know. I'm at least 5 years old, so that's why the video quality is not up to 1080p. It's more like, I don't know, like 360p. I'm not sure. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do. The first video, however, will not be Genesis. The second video will be. Like, I'll start in that sequence, but the first video will be the first scripture that really hit me like hard, and I won't spoil it, so look forward to that. All I'll say is from Psalms. Okay, thank you for sticking with me. This is an hour and 30 minutes. Shalom, and I will do a video. Got to wrap this up first before we do the Septuagint series, so do this first. And that's going to take at least a week to finish, maybe 2 weeks. So I could expect, Yah willing, I'll finish this by before March, and then funnily enough, coincidentally, or maybe not, I'll start the new series around Passover right around before or near Passover. It's either before or during or after, but it's going to be in that season. And I won't go into like teaching or interpretation, not too much. I just want to go through the differences. What are the stark differences, and how does it change? How does it affect not just that verse that I'm not going to isolate, but the rest of the understanding and how it relates to the rest of the Torah or the Tanakh or the rest of the New Testament. That's important. I won't go into historical things too much. I don't believe so. We're just going to stick to what the word says. And yeah, so I think that's a very good thing that was put on my heart to do. Sadly, I'm just one person. I wish I had somebody to help me. And, I could do Genesis and, my friend could do Exodus, for example. And then, get through this a lot faster. Get through this in maybe a year's time. That would be really cool. So, maybe I might have to ask friends to help me to do this. We'll see. We'll see about that. Okay. Until next time, shalom, and may Yah bless you and protect you. Amen.